Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast, where real-life issues facing the family and the church are addressed with bold and uncompromising truth. It's time to reject the mediocrity of the day, live courageously in the face of danger, and declare, Not On My Watch. Here are your hosts, Jeff and Rochelle Ferguson.
Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast. We're Jeff and Rochelle Ferguson, and hey, we're so excited to be with you today, wherever you're listening. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, visit our website, www.notonmywatch.co, and we'd love for you just to partner with us in a lot of different ways. But hey, today we are talking about the war on parents. And we're two of them.
We are two of them. And I'm telling you, we were talking about our podcast yesterday. We were talking about it getting ready. And we talked about this idea because we've been seeing things, social media, in the news, all over our culture. And as we were talking, I think you were the first one to coin it. You said, this is a war on parents. This is literally, what we're experiencing in our world is an all-out assault on parents. And I know when you hear that, it's like, okay, prove it. Okay, here's the over-the-top rhetoric, but I think it's true.
No, I know it's true.
Yeah.
I think it's a spiritual battle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely it is, because here's the deal: parents matter.
Yes.
Mentors, teachers, coaches, individuals, pastors. These people are important in the lives of young people. I am not devaluing those roles. And honestly, I've served all those roles. I've been a teacher, I've been a pastor, I've been a coach, I've been a mentor. All of those are really important roles. But guess what? They're replaceable. They're easily replaceable. That doesn't mean they're not important. I don't want you to listen to this podcast and go, oh my goodness.
Well, we are advocates.
Listen to these people.
We are advocates for having many influencers in, like, even our kids' lives.
Right, but those
teachers,
are
coaches.
for seasons.
Yes.
Like you I don't know anybody that's only had one coach their entire life. If so, they probably haven't played very long. Or one teacher their entire life. If so, they're homeschooled.
You're right.
Which, again, homeschooling's great, but I'm just saying these are not the rules. You normally get new teachers. You get a season for somebody to be your mentor, a season for somebody to be your pastor. They're important seasons. You get one mom and dad. And I understand that I really believe that even when people are listening to this, that people are going, no, that's not true. We can have more than one mom and dad. No, you get one mom and dad. Now, there can be people who fill those roles, and there can be people who step in when those people are absent or deceased, things like that. Yes, but there's one mom and dad. Yeah. And they cannot be easily replaced. I would say if you are working with people, you can understand the value of a mom and dad, because when you don't have that, or when there's a break in relationship, or when there is a death in those areas, people struggle. They struggle. And there can be healing, all of those things, but they're so vital. But our culture wants us to believe that these are easily replaceable roles. They are not.
And why do you think that is? Why is there a replacing of the family, replacing of mom and dad language, all that stuff? Why do we feel the need to kind of broaden the family tent, if you will, to be more inclusive?
Do you want my real? No, I'm just kidding. I think people are struggling with this. Well, I think there are sinister motives, and then there are, I don't know, those who are wanting to have more inclusive language, not out of a sinister heart, but because they have maybe empathy or compassion for people who don't have these roles in their life, and so so it's not all like wrong motives.
No, that's good.
I think we have a real effort to be inclusive. So in our effort to be inclusive, which can come from a good place.
Yes, absolutely.
It can. It can also come from a bad place. Okay, so like we have to know that. But in our effort to be more inclusive, we can inadvertently, and I'm not even saying on purpose, we can inadvertently devalue the role that God gives to us in a mom and dad. I mean, those are God-designed roles. Those are God-designed people.
You're absolutely. I'm glad you bring that up, because if you're if you live in the real world, okay, if you're a teacher, if you're looking at what's going on, you see people who don't have their biological parents because of one reason or another. They have a grandmother or grandfather or some other guardian. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And those are healthy roles. We're advocates of having great grandparents. Those are healthy roles. But at the same time, we can't focus on that we downgrade the role of the mom, the role of the dad, and that has been what's happening in our culture.
Well, there's a literal effort to do that, and again, it's not all from a wrong place,
right.
But it in an effort to, I don't know, I guess just to be inclusive, we have devalued the role of mom and dad, and God designed these roles.
Yes, He did.
God said it is good for a man and a woman to come together and to form a family and to raise those kids to, oh my goodness, we could go through all the things. Yeah. This is a God set up. This is the first institution that God sets up. He doesn't set up school first. He doesn't set up mentors. He doesn't set up the church. He sets up the family first.
We have to remember
and
that.
I think that's key. The reality is kids should be spending the most time in their life with their parents. If you just do studies, I mean, we can talk about teachers, we can talk about coaches, we can talk about pastors, but the reality is the time spent in those places is far less than the time that one should be spending at home connected to one's mom and dad. And moms and dads are charged with the mandate to form young people to follow Christ. That is really what God's
discipleship was never supposed to be relegated to the church. It's supposed to occur in the family. Now, the church is supposed to come alongside supplement it. But I think what we've seen is the church is like the only place where that happens. And yet we kind of ship our kids out there. So I think that's so important to realize that that's the first institution God created, the family.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the war, we have to, okay, is there a war? We're saying yes, there is. So what's the problem? What can we point to this saying there's a war on parents? Well, I think a number of things. I think there's kind of rising issues in our culture that's creating this complexity that I think parents are thinking, I can't do this. It's like they're playing whack-a-mole with the issues. Like I'm not an expert in this issue. I'm not an expert in this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outsource this to teachers or to coaches or counselor, therapists or medical professionals or to pastors. And so I'm just going to do that. I think in some cases, parents have even been told they're insufficient to speak to the mental health of their kids or the spiritual development of their kids. And I don't want to get too ahead, but that's not true. I don't want to get too far ahead. So I think that's part of it. I think the verbiage surrounding literal parents is changing. There is a strategic kind of force at work to, I was on Twitter the other day, saw that there's I can't remember who it was saying we need to decenter parents. And we need to elevate words like guardian or caregiver. Anytime we decenter parents, this is a good thing. I couldn't disagree with that more.
Okay, I was going to say, be really clear that we do not agree with that.
I do not agree with that. That is an attempt to change the language around family, around mom and dad. We're all aware of the, birthing person replacing mom. We cannot replace mom. We cannot replace dad. The verbiage has shifted. Back in 1996, there was a book written by First Lady Hillary Clinton. The title of the book was "It Takes a Village," and out of that comes that phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child." And a lot of people
I don't think she actually coined that. I think she stole the African proverb and titled her book after that. So right. I'm just saying that's right. Been around a long time. But she wrote a book right. and became more popular.
Yes.
And yeah. And okay, it takes a village. I think I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yes.
And, I don't think everybody who says it takes a village is sitting here saying, like, parents aren't important.
Right.
But in an effort to say it takes a village, we can actually, devalue the people that matter most in a kid's life. Mm-hmm. And I know that, like, even me saying that, some people are like, oh, no. Yeah. Yes. And we've got to think correctly on this, or we'll begin to move in this direction. I mean, we did a podcast on this months ago. We can link it in the show notes, but about how at the time, I think our daughter was like 13, maybe she was 14, how I lost access to her medical, like, online MyChart type situation. I have to get her permission to know what the doctor is even prescribing. Like, she has to give permission for me, her mom, to see what the doctor is even saying to her. And so if that doesn't scream the, like, decentralization of parents, now, then I don't know what does.
That's dangerous.
This is happening, like, in schools.
Yes.
Where, schools are saying, now we'll just go to the student for permission. We don't need parents' permission. And in fact, they get to decide if they have parents' permission. This is crazy. Kids are not ready to make those decisions.
No.
And they're at 13. You do not know what's best for you medically.
Yes.
You do not know what's best for you in a whole lot of ways. I mean, I think about if I were allowing my kids to decide every meal.
Yeah.
They may not make good choices. Hopefully
absolutely.
I'm training them to eventually make good choices. But if they were in charge of all the situations, and I'm not sure that all the choices would be made for their best interest. This is why God gives us parents.
Absolutely.
And yet we are trying to take those roles out, and then we're beginning to wonder, where is this generation going? Well, we are raising a whole generation with a child-led focus.
Yes.
Instead of a parent-led focus.
And we need to be parent-led. This, there's a whole movement in the public school system. You look it up, we'll link it in the show notes, initiated by the Center for Disease Control, the community school movement. It sounds like great because it's student focused, and so we think, finally we're going to start paying attention to the students. But you'll hear the motto: whole school, whole community, whole child, and it sounds warm, it sounds inviting. But what's happening is they're decentering the family, they're decentering parents. Parents are a part of the equation, not a central component of it. And so, and
I can understand why people are moving this way, because it's much harder to influence adults than it is to influence kids. So people are saying we can influence kids.
Yep.
And again, I'm not saying for all sinister reasons. I'm saying for easy, like if we go to a kid and talk to a kid about the best way to live, they're going to listen more than if you talk to somebody who's 30 and decided, you know what, this is the path I'm taking. I understand the reasoning.
Yep.
But the issue is that we're going to be perpetuating cyclical things because basically we've stopped parenting for the last 40 years.
And you have educators saying, so what do? We've stopped. We have a culture that stopped parenting for 40 years, and so we have
kids who are literally not listening. The behavior is out of control. I understand why it's happening.
Yes.
But again, if we don't deal with the root issue, we will continue to create this cycle of issues. So what do we do about this?
Yeah, we need to,
this sounds like, are we doomed?
The sky is falling.
No,
absolutely not.
Here's the deal. Even just the very fact that you're listening to this, I hope you're even thinking about words you use.
Yes.
So even the fact that we are going to just value moms and dads, talking about the importance of moms and dads. We won't stop talking about that out of fear of hurting somebody's feelings who maybe doesn't have a mom or a dad.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we don't have empathy and we don't help people who find that, but we're never going to make whole people by devaluing the very way that God said for us to be as a family. So we've got to use the right words. We also have to model it. We have to sit here and always take a look at ourselves. Am I modeling what a whole mom or dad would look like in my family? How are we modeling this?
Oh, we live in a culture where Father's Day is coming up. And, the word father has a lot of connotations to some people who've, and so we have to model, I have to model for our girls what is a father and who's our example of what a father is? Well, God in the person of Jesus in the New Testament. So we have to have a biblical worldview in this, and we can't cater to the lowest common denominator of the culture because there's so much brokenness. There's legitimate brokenness, but what's going to bring healing to that? It's not going to be catering. It's going to be this biblical worldview. It's going to be our modeling. Exactly. What is a good mom? What is a good dad? Understanding that we can bring healing just by that.
And part of that is refusing to outsource the other's influence to surpass yours. Parents, you have got to be the number one influence.
Oh, yeah.
The phone cannot be. Friends cannot be. Even other well-meaning adults cannot be the number one influencer of your children. You are the number one influencer.
Yes.
You are. And so wear that badge proudly. Wear it. Own it. Live up to it. Talk about it. Live it. Oh my goodness. I think this is so huge. Refuse to give it up.
If we lose that, we really lose a lot. If we lose that, that being the number one influence, there's a whole lot else that we're not going to be able to do. And so, again, we need to remain in relationship with our kids and do not abdicate that role, even regardless of if someone tells you you're not fit. Can I tell you you're fit? You're fit for it. I remember there's a story. I remember our first daughter was born, and I remember the nurse did something that terrified me. She said, Do you want to change your diaper? And inside I'm thinking, no, don't want to do it. But she forced me to be in a position where I had to do it. Well, guess what? I needed to do that. And as parents, you're going to be, I know it's a silly example, but you're going to be in situations you feel, I can't do this. It's over my head. You can do it. God has equipped you to do it.
Yeah, I would say you can do it if you stay connected to Christ.
Yes.
I would say don't allow insecurity to lead. And so you may feel, I don't know, I want to jump in here and I agree with you that, you are made to do this. You may feel inadequate at times, but nobody else is more equipped than if you go and you get alone with God. I think that is the big deal. It's not just like, oh, you're a parent, so you're made for this. No, you got to stay connected to Christ. He will equip you. Yes. He will help you in your weakness. He will give you ideas. I think about this with my own kids. There are times when I don't know what to do. I don't feel like, oh, I'm equipped for this. I have everything I need. No, I actually really don't at times. And so I have to go to the Lord. I think about recently, I had a situation. I didn't know what to do. I've been praying about it. I didn't know what to do. At 2:13 in the morning, I woke up. This doesn't happen to me all the time. Normally, I'm just sleeping. But at 2:13 a.m., I woke up and I woke up with an idea. I knew it was not my own. I knew it. And some of you who are sitting there going, I don't think God speaks anymore. Okay, you can think that. He does.
He does. Yeah.
If you are in relationship with him, he will speak to you in weird ways. He didn't have to wait till I was sleeping. He just decided, I don't know, maybe I was quiet long enough to listen at that point because I'm sleeping. I don't know all the reasons, but I woke up at 2:13. I had an idea. I woke Jeff up.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
I said, hey, here's my idea.
He said, I have an idea.
I have an idea. And you're like...
2:13, I'm like, I'm sleeping. I'm glad you're having ideas.
And I said, I have an idea. Here it is, so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
I needed somebody else to remember it at 2:13. And then I said, we'll talk about it in the morning.
Thank you, by
Go
the
to
way.
bed. And and you're like, okay, good night. And then literally the next morning, we talked about it and we did the idea.
We did.
And it worked. It worked.
Yes.
And I knew it wasn't mine. So I know, like what Jeff was saying, I totally agree with you. Were made for this. But it's not just because you have the role of mom or dad. When you stay connected to Christ, if you go to him for wisdom, he will give. He says he will give you wisdom.
That's good. I'm glad you say that, because if you just said what I said without what you said, that's humanism.
Yeah, I wanted to correct you.
I don't want to be a heretic. Thank you. My wife protects me. This is what a good family does.
No,
Protects each other.
I got to tell one more story before we end, because this is when I was pregnant with our first daughter, and we went to a birthing class, and we took a little break. It was, they were telling us horrible things.
It was
I thought.
Can I just tell you on this end? I'm glad I was a man. Anyway,
that's for another podcast. But it was horrible, and they had us take a break, and we went and got I don't know, something from the vending machine, and then we came back. And the lady that's doing the class is like, okay, you ready for round 2? And I'm like, I am not ready for round 2.
I wasn't ready for round 1.
I know, I'm scarred. And this guy raised his hand. And he said, I've got something to say.
He shouldn't have said it.
And I thought, why is this guy talking? And his wife was sitting there, and he goes, my wife was expressing some nervousness in the break. And he said, I just looked at her and said, you don't need to be nervous. Your body is made for this.
Oh my goodness.
I thought, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. You can say that because you don't have to do anything. And so we're telling you this from people who are in the trenches with you. Yes, you were made for this, but it's not something that you muster up. This is why you will not be a good parent unless you are connected to Christ, getting your wisdom and strength from him.
Preach.
And so value parents, but value Christ more. So the war on parents is really a war on God. I mean, seriously, it's a war on what God has established and what he can provide for. So don't engage in it. Use the right words. Think about it. What I'm saying, does it really line up with Scripture? You got to know what the word says about parents, and be careful, because these are humanistic ideas that get in there. And so we've got to be so grounded in the word. So is there a war on parents? Yes, there is. Are we going to fight this battle to the death? There you go.
I was going to say that we have to fight.
Yeah.
We can't. We have to fight. Nehemiah chapter 4 says, fight for your families. Fight for, you know what, moms, dads, we got to fight.
With a plow in one hand and a weapon in another. So
I love
there you
how
go.
you said it, fight to the death. This is not a foregone conclusion that we're going to be overcome.
No, not on my watch.
Not on my watch.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Please share this. Visit our website. If you want to be a partner financially, you can check it out on our website. We would love to connect with you. We've got several parenting seminars coming up. Keep praying for our book. It's on its way, and we just thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Not On My Watch podcast. You are a watchman for this time and hour. Don't forget to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you listen. If you haven't already, head on over to our website, www.notonmywatch.co, for more resources from Jeff and Rochelle. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on the next episode. But until then, keep watchful.